All right, I think we are live and good to go at this point. Thank you everyone for joining us again for our third YouTube Live question and answer session. We've got a large group joining us tonight, bringing back our building administrators and a couple other individuals, including Peggy Lehman, our transportation supervisor, and Karen Truesdale, our food service supervisor. So tonight we've got four main topic areas that we're going to cover. First would be food service, and then we're going to move into transportation. And then we'll talk a little bit about school visitors and school events, general school events for this year and some of the changes and how that might look. And then last but not least, we're going to bring back our athletic department, Mr. Richards and Mr. Rettinger, to give us an update on athletic events with the reduced capacity that was sent to us by the state last week. And they're also going to talk through the ticketing procedures and how all of that is going to look this year. So we'll have them, they'll be the last group that'll come in. We should be on here for about an hour. Those of you that joined us last week, remember we had just gotten word literally during the session, during the YouTube Live event, about the capacity limitations for high school sports that were sent down by the governor's office and the Ohio Department of Health. So didn't really have a chance to touch on that very much. So we'll bring the athletic department back in this evening to review that. Pass the mic now to Dr. Chad Conkle, our superintendent. He's joining us again, and let him say a few opening remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Castater. Welcome, Ross community, to the third session. This is a four-part series. Just a reminder that next Wednesday, September 2nd, is the last session that we'll have. That will cover general guidance and any last-minute questions. But before we get into tonight's session, I want to talk to parents kind of what this school year is going to look like. This is not going to be a normal school year, and we will have our challenges, but we will have a positive outlook, and we're here to make a difference for children and to learn every day. Things will look different, anywhere from the cafeteria to hallways to lunchrooms to riding the bus. But I think there's some things as a parent that you can do. Two things really. First of all, have conversations with your children, with your young adults before they come to school. I think there's going to be a lot of questions that students have. Have those conversations with your children. There's information on our website. There's also information on our YouTube live sessions. But the more conversations we can have with students prior to coming to school, I think it's going to help our children get a great education. Second of all, I think practice wearing masks. This is new for our society. Some feel more comfortable than others, but the more that you can practice with your children wearing masks, I think will give us a better chance to be successful once the school starts. Just a reminder that Monday, September 7th is Labor Day, so we will not have school that day. Tuesday and Wednesday, which are September 8th and 9th, that will be last names A through K. And then on Thursday and Friday, which are the 10th and the 11th, last names L through Z. And then finally, all students will report on September 14th. So looking forward to tonight's session. I just want to say thank you to our leadership team for their work that they have done. And at this point, Mr. Castater, I'll turn the mic back over to you.
Great. Dr. Conkle brought up an important point. We are live right now, obviously on YouTube, but if you're not able to join us, or if you know people that weren't able to join tonight, all of these videos are archived on the district YouTube channel. The first two sessions we've done, we're pushing close to 2,000 total views between the two videos. So we had really good response, and I think hopefully providing a lot of good information to answer questions that people have as we move closer to September 8th and the start of the school year. So we're going to jump right in now and move over to food service. So again, I introduced Karen Truesdale, our food service supervisor. She's starting her second year with us, did a tremendous job in her first year, making a lot of changes and improvements to our food service program. And she's going to talk a little bit about some general guidelines and how eating lunch in the cafeteria is going to be a little different this year. And then we'll move on to the building principals to talk about some of the specifics for their individual building when it comes to cafeteria and lunchtime procedures. So Karen, if you want to start us off, the floor is yours.
Okay. Well, hello, everyone. And I just first want to assure everyone that the staff in all four of the cafeterias are very dedicated in serving your students in the safest manner possible, and also try to make sure that they are able to have the foods that they would like to eat. That's the main thing of trying to take care of your children. So with that said, we are having all of our staff wearing masks and gloves, and there's going to be plexiglass in place at all of the registers to protect not only the staff, but also your students. The students will be asked to use hand sanitizer at the beginning of the line, to wear masks and maintain their social distancing from the stickers that will be on the floors. We also ask that if you have a concern about an allergy about the hand sanitizer, to please consult with the school nurse and they'll be able to help you with that situation. All of our food items will be cupped, wrapped, or covered. There will be no self-service at the main serving line. Breakfast items will all be prepackaged and they'll be on a grab and go basis. They'll have choices, but it's going to be prepackaged items. For lunch, the elementary students will have their trays filled with all of the meal components. They'll receive the fruit, vegetables, entrees, bread, and they'll have their choice of milk. But the items will be on the tray for them to take and go. The idea is to keep the line moving as fast as we can so that they can go sit down and enjoy their meal. At the middle school, high school, we'll have at least 2 choices of fruits, vegetables, and entrees. These also will be placed on their trays. They won't be reaching in to grab anything. Our menus are all on our links at the school website, so you can pull those up and see what items we're offering for this next month. At this time, we're going to have a limited amount of snack items that will be available to purchase. That may change later, but at this time, we're going to limit the choices. Your packers may bring reusable lunch bags, and they will be able to purchase milk, drinks, or snacks. We're making decisions on that, on how to take care of your packers. At this time, no outside restaurant food may be dropped off for lunch to your student. We want to try to protect everyone as much as we can, so we ask that no restaurant food be brought in. And also no birthday treats at this time may be brought into the school. If you look at our website, you'll see an opportunity that the elementary schools and the middle school have to offer, where you can purchase baskets of cookies for your student and for their friends. There also, I believe the information is on our Facebook pages for the elementaries and for the middle school. Please try to place money on your students' accounts at payschoolcentrals.com, or you can still send a check or cash in an envelope. We just ask that it be turned in the morning for breakfast so that we can limit how much money we're handling at lunch. As far as cleaning procedures go, the students at this time will need to pick up everything at one time as they come through the lunch line. We're asking that they not come back into the serving line area. This will allow us to clean and sanitize that line for the next group that will be coming in. The tables will be cleaned and sanitized after each lunch period by a cafeteria or staff members, school staff members, I'm sorry. We'll also be using all food safe cleaning products as approved by the CDC and the Board of Health. So there should be no problem as far as what we're using to sanitize everything at this time. And then one last item is that I would ask all parents to remember that you need to fill out the new 2020-2021 free and reduced meal application. It can be found on our link on the Ross website, or now you can also complete it online at payschoolcentral.com. And this link is also available on our website. And as always, if anyone has questions, you can email me or call me. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Karen. Lots of good information. And again, I'll go back to something that we mentioned, that Dr. Conkle mentioned early on about the staggered start to the school year. And we realize a lot of this information, very overwhelming, and there's a lot of things that are going to look and feel different for our students as they come into the buildings for that first day on September 8th. So that's part of the reason that we staggered the start by giving a chance to have a smaller group of kids have to go through these changes in procedures and protocols. And we know it's going to be a lot to get used to, and especially for our younger students, a huge adjustment into the way they're used to doing things. So we feel like that's going to help ease everyone back in, at least for the first week, and give everyone a chance to be successful with the things we're asking them to do moving forward. So I'm going to move on now with cafeteria and food service and ask Mr. Martin to maybe speak to some of the specifics that the high school is going to be doing and how lunch may look different there this year.
Sorry about that. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back this evening. Hope that you all are enjoying the remaining weeks leading up to the start of school. Was able to talk to some kids today and it felt great. They were excited to be back in the building in anticipation. So more to the topic right now in terms of lunch and how it's going to operate at the high school. We are going to, of course, be social distancing to the extent that we can during lunchtime. The way that is going to look is we normally have cafeteria tables that seat 10 students at a time. We will be reducing that number by half. So there will only be 5 students seated at each cafeteria table at one time to allow them to space out a little bit more. Anyone who packs their lunch will be eating in the gymnasium. That is obviously something that is new given the situation. So packers will be eating their lunch in the gym and will be spaced out to allow for the appropriate amount of social distancing. One other thing we've done at the high school that's probably a little bit different than what's possible at the other buildings is we've been able to reduce the number of students who will actually be in the building during our third block lunchtime. So we've allowed upperclassmen to make adjustments to their schedule so that they are only attending for the portion of the day that they need to be there for their required classes. So in layman's terms, it's a little bit more of a college campus feel, allowing some of our older, more mature students to be on campus solely for the classes that are required for graduation. And, the fewer number of kids that we have there during that lunch period obviously allows us to reduce our numbers. And as Mrs. Truesdale said, we're certainly going to do everything that we can to ensure safety for your students as they eat lunch during the school day.
Mr. Saylor, you want to jump into the middle school?
Absolutely, sure. First, just like Mr. Martin, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us tonight. I've had an opportunity to coach some tennis. I'm out with a lot of that. The kids are very excited to get back. I know a lot of the parents are, so are we. So we can't wait to see everybody. I'd like to thank Mrs. Truesdale too. She's been putting a lot of effort in to try and help plan this out, as have we all. Things will be a little bit different than what Mr. Martin talked about at the high school. Our students will eat mostly by their team. So for example, 5th graders, as you come at the end of this week, we'll be mailing home team and homeroom assignments. So the all-star team will come down and eat as a group. We will seat packers first, although we are working on, as Ms. Truesdale said, if you're a packer and you wish to buy milk or something like that, we'll have an opportunity for you to do that. And then our buyers will go through the lunch line and purchase their food. We've actually split our cafeteria basically in half and are going to use our multi-purpose room as a second site cafeteria. So we've reduced our capacity in our cafeteria by half, which will allow us to spread out some tables, social distance to a greater degree, keep kids separate that way. Everyone will have assigned seats. I know some of my middle school students won't love hearing that, but it is something we need to do so that we can help manage and keep everybody safe. Mr. Huff is working on getting plastic dividers for the tables that'll help separate. We'll reduce the number of students are seated at each table as well. We are working students where you still will probably be able to use your phone at lunchtime to play some games and interact that way. So we'll work that out for you guys. And again, the biggest difference you'll see students, we will eat in 2 different areas and our schedule has been spread out to help with some of that distancing and separating.
Mr. Hall and Mr. Perry, you guys want to address the elementary schools?
Yep, Tom, jump in whenever you feel needed here. I'll speak on the elementary's behalf. So in essence, students will be walking down on a staggered schedule. We have it staggered out by 5 minutes. So each class will arrive to the cafeteria through the same entrance doors or the lunch line. We will have also, very similar to the middle school, plexiglass dividers on our tables. We will eventually have assigned seats, but the kids will still be able to sit by their class. That has not changed from years past. We will have visual markers on those benches for those kids, and that'll be their spot pretty much for the remainder of the school year. We will have 2 exit locations or an exit location at Morgan where we have hand sanitizer stations. So as they leave, they can get a quick, sanitizing of the hands, and then they will walk back to the class with their teacher. Tom, did I miss anything from the elementary level there?
I think Karen touched on it too. They won't be able to go back through the line. And then as far as throwing away their trash, it will be as they exit with the class. So they will not be able to get up and go back and so forth to the seats. But yeah, that covers about everything, Mr. Hall.
Something to hit on just real quick. And Karen, you might have mentioned this. We are going to have staff members doing the wiping down of tables. That has changed from years past. We've had students, student wipers and sweepers, cleaning up the cafeteria after the different grade levels eat. But we will have staff members cleaning the tables this year.
Thank you for mentioning that, Mr. Hall. That'll be similar at the middle school too. We're trying to get additional staff to do that so students don't have to.
Great. Okay, so at this point, we're going to kind of close the book on food service and move on to transportation. So as I mentioned earlier, we've got Mrs. Peggy Lehman, our transportation supervisor. How many years at Ross now, Peggy? Have you been doing transportation?
28 and a half.
28 and a half. Wow. So Peggy's going to start us off by giving us some general updates on transportation and some of the bus protocols and procedures. And then we did get a number of questions submitted, especially about the elementary level, not so much in terms of busing, but how that the parent pickup and drop off and arrival is going to happen this year. So we'll jump into the buildings afterwards, but for now, we're going to go ahead and turn it over to Peggy and let her give us some general updates about transportation for this year.
Okay, thank you, Steve. On September 1st, on Tuesday, bus schedules will be online for your child. It'll have the bus number and the time. Please have your student waiting for the bus at least 10 minutes prior to your arrival time. As of today, we're only adding the new students on our routes. Each bus driver will have received a COVID startup package. In that, the gloves, the mask, the disinfectant, the wipes, hand sanitizer, and paper towels. They'll use that for the cleaning of the buses. On September 2nd, transportation will be having our in-service meeting, and we're going over how to clean the bus, the guidelines, including the seating arrangements, the masks, the protocols, the attendance. We're going to also start with doing attendance in the morning and the afternoon, because some kids ride in the morning and some don't ride in the afternoon. So we'll be doing that attendance. Buses will be sanitized after the AM routes and the PM routes. We will be misting from back to front and cleaning all high touch surfaces. Buses, when the students load, they'll load from back to front and unload from front to back. This will be how our seating chart will be. Students will sit in seats according to seating charts, so we can identify if there becomes an incident within COVID. We will be taking attendance, like I said, AM and PM routes. While waiting for buses at congested stops. Oops, did you lose me?
No, you're here. You're good.
Okay, okay. While waiting for the buses at congested stops, students should be spaced socially distanced, and siblings will sit together on the bus. If after 2 weeks that we see that there's no one riding at the bus stop, at that particular bus stop, we will be taking the student off the route to make room for more social distancing. All students must wear masks on the bus. Drivers will be wearing masks whenever they're in contact with the students. When loading and unloading, they will be pulling their masks up. Parents will be, and I think all of you have mentioned this, parents will be a huge advocate for students with wearing these masks and taking temperatures, keeping records before they get on buses. I guess the middle school, and I'm sure the Morgan will be, and Elda will be discussing their arrival and dismissal for the buses, but the drivers will be calling 5 minutes before they arrive at the school. And then they will have the students waiting and ready to board. We're highly, okay.
No, I've got my screen shared now because I wanted to go back and touch on a couple things that Peggy mentioned. One is just to we've gotten this question often, just to reiterate, we are planning on releasing the bus schedules, including the pickup times at the bus stops on September 1st. So those will be on our website, rossrams.com. If you click up here on departments and go to transportation, you will see a menu on the right-hand side with links, and that is where the updated bus routes will be posted. So we have those now for some of the parochial schools that have already started that we provide transportation for, but those will be listed by building on that link on the website. So I think that'll be a good resource. I know people have been wondering when are the bus schedules going to come out. So right now we're looking at September 1st for that to happen. Peggy, I want to ask one question because we've had this come up often. If parents are maybe kind of in limbo with transportation or not sure if they're going to be using the bus some days, but maybe not others, how do they need to communicate that to the transportation department to make sure that we've got everything squared away? And I know we did send in the restart form that obviously with our bus routes and with our the number of kids we have that typically ride buses, distancing is hard to accomplish. And we are following the state guidelines with 2 to a seat in most cases. Sometimes there may be 3 depending on the capacity, but like we said, students will be wearing masks on the bus the entire time as they enter, while they're riding, and as they exit. And we did mention that we think it would help if parents do have the ability to drive their children to school. That will obviously help the situation in terms of distancing on the buses. So Peggy, what do parents or families need to do to communicate with you if they're have transportation questions or kind of unsure how much busing they may actually be using this school year?
Yeah, they can use the transportation forms online that you just showed. They can do that, or they could email me and we can keep a record that way also. But really we're keeping the same routes unless we're after, like I said, 2 weeks, if that road is totally out of the route. Otherwise, we're keeping everybody like on and just passing them up. And with keeping our absenteeism, we can really figure out who's going and who's not most of the time. But we realize that there's sports sometimes in the afternoon. And if we keep a schedule as to if they're riding or not, just in case COVID does appear, we'll know that that student wasn't on the bus at that time and we wouldn't have to pull them.
Right. That's an important distinction. It's part of the reason for the seating charts and for the unloading and loading procedures having to be so strict this year is that if we would run into a positive case that would occur with a student who rode the bus, we're going to need to be very specific with the health department in terms of the students that may have been exposed or been around that particular child at any given time for them to be able to do their contact tracing process. So we're gonna ensure we do the very best job we can in keeping those records and keeping track of who's coming on and off the bus and where they're sitting on a daily basis. So again, the website, rossrams.com, under departments for transportation, there's going to be a lot of good information there that will hopefully answer a lot of questions regarding transportation for this year. I'm going to turn it over now to Mr. Martin, and he's going to talk about some specifics, any specifics that might affect the high school in terms of transportation and arrival and dismissal, especially for this year.
So to facilitate transportation at the high school, we have adjusted our start and ending times a little bit this year. We have moved our start time back for student 10 minutes. So students will be expected to be in class by 7:10 a.m. Conversely, on the other end, they'll be dismissed 10 minutes early, and actually in some cases 20 minutes early. We will be dismissing our drivers and those individuals who ride with our drivers at 1:50 p.m. And then our bus riders will be dismissed at 2 p.m. So once again, this is to just allow us to stagger our dismissal at the end of the day, to reduce the crowd size of students that are exiting the building. It also helps with some logistical things with transportation as well. So once again, not a major change, but students will be in class 10 minutes earlier this year. The student day will be from 7:10 a.m. to 2 p.m. or 1:50 for drivers and their riders at the high school this year.
Great. Mr. Saylor?
Absolutely. The middle school time has not changed. Our official student day is from 8 o'clock until 2:45. It is important to note, parents and families, that the doors to the middle school do not open until 7:40 a.m. So students, if you are getting dropped off, 7:40 a.m. is the earliest time that could happen. Parents, as you drop off students, there'll be, you enter through the main entrance, you'll loop around, you'll come through the parking lot. That'll be marked. Officer Little, our school resource officer, is typically out there in the morning to help with that. You will drop off in the parking lot, and if you're riding, you will come through the front doors. Buses will begin arriving and dismissing into the building at 7:40. As was mentioned earlier, there'll be some radio calls that come in so that we can help manage that traffic. Students will be asked to enter the building. They will be allowed to drop things off in their locker if need be, but then they will have to report directly to their homeroom to help alleviate some concern from students getting there by that 8 o'clock a.m. And with transportation and buses, especially early, and with some of the new procedures, we have extended our homeroom time for all grade levels. So if a bus is running late, students, you don't need to worry about that. You will not be marked tardy to school or have any consequence. If you're on the bus and you're running late, we'll take care of that. So don't worry about that. Afternoon, we have adjusted our intervention bells for those students who are returning, or for fifth graders. Basically, you can think of that sort of like a study hall. It meets at the end of the day. So as buses arrive at the end of the day, beginning around, I think around 2:20 all the way through the end of our day, if they are here before 2:45, we'll be able to get on the PA system and dismiss by bus. So that'll help alleviate some of the congestion at our dismissal time. Parents, we do ask, if you are picking your students up at the end of the day, that you please pull in and park in the parking lot. Car riders will be dismissed through the front door, and they will walk down the sidewalk to the parking lot. That way they avoid all the bus traffic in the front. So they will be dismissed around 2:45 and come that way. So that's just a few things for us.
Great. Mr. Hall, Mr. Perry, any updates for the elementary buildings?
Yes, parents, once again, would just like to reassure all of you that the elementary administration, we meet daily, and it's been very important to put together all the different protocols. One of the most challenging is going to be drop off and pick up. So what we plan on doing is Monday, we are going to release a Google survey. What we'd like to get information from the parents for is what parents plan on picking their child up, or I'm sorry, taking their child to school and picking them up at school every day. Right now, we have anywhere from 30 to 40 parents that are what we call daily pickups. It's going to be crucial for us to finalize our pickup and drop off based on the number of students that are going to be picked up and dropped off every day. Looking at some schools, they've seen an increase almost 3 times their normal pickup and drop off. If that's the case, as all of you know, Morgan and Elda, the capacity for cars to line up and wait is not good. So we will be sending it home Monday. We'd like to get that information as soon as possible to help us make those decisions. At this time, we do have some protocols put in place, and if we need to adapt those based on that information, we will let you know. As far as busing, when the buses get here, we're going to dismiss the students bus by bus. So we have 1 or 2 buses leave or arrive. We're going to dismiss those students. They're going to go to the room. In the past, we'd have 10 buses, 8 buses get there. We'd release them all at one time. That's going to change to help with the social distancing. The same thing for dismissal. We're going to release the students from the room bus by bus. We will be calling the room. They'll be getting the buses. And then as soon as that bus is loaded, they will be pulling out. Very similar to middle school talked about, we have an intervention period in our daily routine. We are going to have that at 3 o'clock. So at 3 o'clock, our students are going to get ready for dismissal. They'll have everything by their desk. At 3:15, we're planning on students, especially pickups, that we're going to probably have to start sending our pickups down to the cafeteria gymnasium at 3:15. And then at any time after 3:15, 3:30, when a bus arrives, we're going to make an announcement and we will dismiss those students who ride those buses. So that's kind of how our bus is going to work. As far as our drop off in the morning, it's going to be very similar. We've extended our drop off period. Currently, we allowed students to come in the building at 9 o'clock. Tardy bell was at 9:15. At this point, we're looking at allowing the students for sure to come in at 9 o'clock. However, we're looking at 9:30 until the tardy bell, we get things started. Based on the survey, if we have to extend that time to 8:45, we will do so. Once again, we also want to keep students safe, and I do not want the cars backed up all the way on Chapel Road. And I know Mr. Hall does not want the cars backed up on 128 and Back School Road. So that's kind of our situation there. And as far as the drop off, you know, we have the same procedures there. Pickup, going to be a little different. In the past, you sent a note in, we had your child ready, you came into the cafeteria, we brought him down. We are going to have a rolling pickup. And this is where, once again, it's going to be crucial for us to know how many parents are picking up. So we will have a parent pickup, we will have a protocol. We will know you're picking your child up. Permanent pickups and others that once they start picking up, we will have some type of placard or some type of 8.5 by 11 sheet that will be given to the parents with an identification number to tell us who it is. And at that point, we will know who's picking up your child. We will have somebody come to your car, identify you are the person to pick your child up. And then at that point, we will radio into the school and have your child come out. And once again, that's a process that it's going to take time. But unlike the middle school and high school, we have a different protocol that we have to make sure who's picking these kids up. So it's going to be crucial for us to know. One of the things that we are putting in place is we're asking you verification that you're picking your child up that day by 1 o'clock. Anything after 1 o'clock, we cannot allow you to pick a child. We just cannot get things together. So we'll have, you know, a process for that. If you are a permanent pickup, we'll know every day. That's why it's crucial that we know what your intentions are. So those are a few of the things. We will have the signage. And, you know, the first week we're doing the staggered. That will help us get an idea. And also the second week when all the students come, we know that it's going to be challenging. We are going to ask you to please be patient. We do not have any idea how long these lines are going to be. It could be a half an hour. It could be 20 minutes. It could be 40 minutes. We don't know. We will have a better idea. We will adapt as we go. But we're asking you, please be patient, especially in the morning. We have situations where you want to drop your kid off. You want to get to work. You pass cars. Please be patient is what we're asking you. So with these protocols, after the survey, we will have a very good idea of the amount of pickups and drop-offs we're expecting, and we will release if anything changes as far as the times. Right now, we're expecting 9 o'clock to 9:30 will be the time to drop the kid off, get him into the class, and pick up for your child will be 3:15 and on. So hopefully this helps. If you have any questions, please email myself or Mr. Hall.
Just adding one more thing in here real quick. I think there's a question or you know, possible questions about kindergarten start times. So kindergartners and kindergarten families, your day AM starts at 9:15 and goes to 11:55. So that midday pickup would be right around 11:55 to like 12:05. And then for our PM students, that starts at 1:05 and ends at 3:45. Your day would end at 3:45.
And I think the kindergarten pickups, let me expand. I will explain Morgan's, and then I think Mr. Hall will need to explain because I'm not sure if those are exactly. But our kindergarten pickup, our drop off will be in the back in the circle, just like it is where all the other students. They will come into the building, go into the classroom. So that's the same for our morning group. That will be our pickup. The students, we will have a note and so forth. They will come to the front area of the building. And at that point, we will dismiss your student with you. In the afternoon, our drop off at this time is in the front of the building. And at that point, the teachers will be out there. And once again, I will say that if we only have limited parking in the front. If we have too many parents that are dropping off or picking up, we may have to change those. But at this point, our morning pickup will be in the front of the building. However, if we have too many, we will have to move that to the back because once again, we want safety first. And then dropping off will be in the front. And then our pickup for kindergarten in the afternoon will be in the back of the building, the same as our grades 1 through 4. Mr. Hall, is your pickup for kindergarten similar?
Yeah, I have, so families, you've received an email through Final Forms about those procedures, just to elaborate a little bit on them and to keep it simple. Any pickups, any car riders would be in the back of the building. For kindergarten specifically, that's actually going to take place in the back part of the gym at the back doors there, especially for that middle group, that AM pickup. And then as far as the buses, those will be in front. So any car riders, pickup, drop-offs will happen in the back of the building. Buses will be in the front. So if we can remember that, that'd be awesome. And like I said, the only thing that's changed really is that mid AM pickup will happen by those gym doors, the back gym doors.
Great. And again, we've still got a couple weeks here before we start, so we'll continue to communicate from the buildings, those individual procedures. And as we mentioned earlier, having the staggered start for 4 days really gives us a chance to kind of fine tune those changes that we're making and ensure that we get off to as smooth a start as possible. We're going to change gears right now and switch over and talk a little bit about school events and visitors before we jump into athletics to kind of finish us up. Obviously, a lot of the things we're doing within the restart plans try to limit movement and people coming in and out of the buildings. And that is definitely a change for the Ross Local Schools. And myself personally, as a parent of 2 students in the district and living in the community, one of the things that makes this district great is the amount of parents and volunteers that have been traditionally involved in our schools. And that is not something that goes unnoticed by us. And it's a huge part of why we've been so successful and had such a great community school district for such a long time. So obviously being in the middle of a pandemic and having to make the adjustments in order to comply with the local and state guidelines, that is going to look different this year. We're not going to be able to have the amount of people coming in and out of our buildings on a daily basis that we may normally have. And hopefully at some point we'll be back to normal circumstances and we can get back to having more parent volunteers and people coming in and out. So again, we would just ask that everyone is patient with us as we work through these new procedures and protocols. And it's not personal, again, we enjoy having people involved in our schools. We're just in a time now where we're not going to be able to pull that off for this year. So I'll turn it over now to Mr. Martin and see if he wants to speak at all about school groups or events. I know we had a couple questions about homecoming and how that might look this year and some of the things that we're working on moving forward.
So in terms of outside groups, we have continued to have meetings in the building with our booster groups, our tremendous booster groups, who obviously are very supportive of our students and the activities that we have going on. So once again, if you're members of those respective groups, whether it be band boosters or the choral boosters, athletic boosters, and our after prom committee, those meetings are happening or continuing to happen in our building. And it goes without saying that obviously all safety guidelines and protocols need to be followed. So all participants must be masked when they attend those meetings, and we will be observing social distancing in those meetings as well. So for the time being, those are continuing. In terms of homecoming, that's always one of the more celebrated times of the school year. We have a great homecoming tradition at Ross, starting with our parade and dance and of course the activities, the athletic activities that go along with that. Coincidentally, the homecoming dance is scheduled for 1 month from today, September 26th. So I can assure you that we are doing everything that we can to try to hold these events in some form or fashion. High school administration is working with Dr. Conkle, who's in turn working with our board and local health officials to try to ensure that we're able to provide our kids the homecoming experience. The reality is that there are certain decisions, however, that are outside of our control. And while we would all welcome and enjoy having our traditional homecoming activities, we're just not sure that that's going to be able to happen at this point. We are trying. We're trying everything we can. We are pushing as hard as we can within the parameters, within the safety parameters and guidelines that have been set for us. But ultimately, those decisions are made by individuals at the health department. So we are kind of at their mercy. But we are trying. Had some great conversations with students today regarding homecoming, and once again, we want our kids to be able to experience those special moments, and we're going to do everything we can to try to pull that off and make it happen. But please understand, right now it's just not solely our call, and there are other entities that we have to work with. So we will obviously be communicating that information out over the next several weeks. And Mrs. Doblinger, the assistant principal at the high school, has been integral, as she always is, in formulating the plans regarding homecoming. Has come up with some great plans, some great alternative plans. We've got plans A, B, C, D, E, and F, and we hope that we're going to be able to pull that off for our students. So stay tuned for additional information from the high school regarding homecoming.
Great. Mr. Saylor?
Sure. A couple little things at the middle school. One of the big questions we've had, visitors, obviously, as Mr. Castater explained, unfortunately won't be able to be as open as we are with things like at lunchtime, eating lunch with your child, those types of things. Also, one of the big events we have at the middle school every year is our Washington, D.C. trip for our 8th grade students. If you've been interested in that, and all 8th grade parents and families should have received some final forms information. That trip has been postponed to the spring at this time. There's some additional information that has been shared too about if you're interested in registering, you can do that at this point. We do encourage you to purchase trip insurance. Obviously, as Mr. Martin mentioned, there may be some things that are out of our control that would then impact that trip. We are hopeful and optimistic and working very closely with our tour company, and Mrs. Bruck and Mrs. Kiefer are two Washington, D.C. chaperones who've done it for years and they put together just an outstanding trip, and we love it. We're trying to do everything we can to make it happen. However, it is something that we are continuing to monitor, and we've already made some changes, and we do expect there may be some additional changes.
Mr. Hall, Mr. Perry?
I can go ahead and start with the elementary, very similar to what Mr. Saylor said, and echoing Mr. Martin as well. A lot of our school events and just different clubs and things have been postponed till the spring. Things like Girls on the Run, Earth Club, any of the different things that are available for students. So we're just kind of waiting to see how this thing goes and play it out, and hopefully do the right things with mass social distancing and really just keep everything alive so we can have a lot of this fun stuff back that we all miss and that we know the kids love. So other than that, that's kind of all I got. Anything you want to add, Mr. Perry?
Well, I think I just want to echo what Mr. Castater said. Volunteers, yes, it's crucial that we have volunteers in the elementary and we rely on them. But at this time, it's something that, once again, we feel we need to keep everyone safe. But visitors, we'll have what meetings we can. Those meetings will depend on how many people. Once again, we have to be able to safely social distance in this meeting, because once again, we do not want a situation where someone has COVID and we have to quarantine 5 or 6 staff members. So, some of these meetings you will see will be Zoom as we continue on. So it's going to be a case by case difference, depending. But once again, we are asking parents to, if you are having to come to the building, some of our things will be done in the lobby area. We will say, hey, drop that off. If you have to come in the office, we are asking for face coverings. Need to have a mask, but we will have one available. If you don't, we'll have some out there. But it hurts not to have the visitors and do some of the functions that we've done in the past with parents. But, once again, this will end and we will be back to where we were, being the school district that we have with the participation. So just be patient with us, parents. We will get you back in here, we promise.
Very well said, Mr. Perry. At this point, we've got about 10 or 15 minutes left, and we're going to transition to our final segment, which will be some athletic updates. As I mentioned at the beginning, we kind of received word on the spectator guidelines literally during our YouTube live last Wednesday, so we didn't really have an opportunity to touch much on it. So we've got Mr. Richards and Mr. Rettinger back again tonight, and they're going to talk through a few additional updates in terms of our athletic programs.
Yeah, and we're gonna start with spectators because that's what came out last week, literally during the YouTube live. So I know Jake and I mean, we talk every single day and meet every single day. We are really excited we can have sports, but what came with that was a lot of restrictions on spectators. I mean, it is not as many as we would like, but we are glad to be able to get some, of our immediate family into our venues. All of our facilities have a 15% limit. Each facility is different. So the middle school gym and the high school gym has a different capacity that we have to work off that 15%. The stadium has a different capacity that we work off 15%. Jake has worked pretty hard on making sure we get some extra kind of seating in there, find some different ways and creative ways that we can create pods to get more people in, which has stretched our number out a little bit for some of our bigger events. So we've been working pretty hard on that. You will notice that there are stickers in all of the Ross facilities. In between each sticker is 6 feet. That's where we ask you not to be. You're supposed to sit on the stickers with your family pod. We ask you to distance, and I will say from the onset, like we've been doing this for a week and everyone has done a really good job. This is very important. We need to follow the guidelines. We need to do what we need to do so we can continue to have spectators. I know some schools have gone to no spectators. Some schools have gone to only having 2 people per spectator or per participant. So, we're trying to bring the most amount of people into our venues that we can. So we ask that you continue to follow the protocols that we're going to talk about here in a little bit. And again, just remember that every event is a little bit different. They draw different capacities in general. I just left the junior high volleyball game where our capacity in there is 120 because it holds 800. We generally don't get to 120 for a junior high volleyball game, especially we bring 7th grade in. We bring them in and then we play that game. We take a little bit of a break. We get 7th grade out. We ask the parents to leave, and then we bring 8th grade in. We spray everything down, clean everything up, so that can allow us more 8th grade spectators in for the immediate family. I know Jake has worked on football. This Friday is a pretty big event, and we're going to have the maximum amount that we are allowed to have there. And so we've worked on how many per, for cheer and how many for football, and he has sent that out with a little bit more for our seniors because this is it for them. So, we wanted to give them some extra tickets. This also counts for all groups on campus K-12. It is not just the DeWine and ODH when they came out with their guidelines. That's for everybody. That's just not school sports. So we've been working with those groups as well and, with their leadership on what it means for their spectators. Jake, that kind of takes us through, to ticketing if you want to kind of hit on that.
So obviously with trying to exert control over some of the really exciting events for our community. In terms of spectator capacity, we've moved to a mostly digital platform that really allows us to control ahead of time who gets access to tickets, how many we can restrict the crowd to. And so, Steve, could you go ahead and put up the box office there? So Mr. Castator is going to show, this is our school website, and you'll see up in the top tabs there, you'll see the box office, okay? So first of all, as in all things at this point, please be patient with us as we work through this. This is brand new. We really did not intend on rolling this out as much as we have, but based on that 15% capacity, it really is the best tool we have in order to follow the state guidelines. So you look at this is the home screen of box office, okay, and you'll see a variety of different games available there. So if you click on, Mr. Castator, can you click on Varsity Ross versus Baden football, please? So this will take you to the purchase screen. Now you'll see that there's nothing on this screen that allows you to select tickets, and that's by design. If you can't select tickets here, then you probably aren't going to be able to get tickets to this contest. So as Mr. Rettinger said, we sent out passcodes. So Mr. Castator, you scroll down to the passcode there. Okay, if you click on that, that will ask for a passcode. Okay, so for a high volume event such as a varsity football game on Friday night, we have actually individualized passcodes for every student who has available tickets. And we've sent those passcodes to both our home fans and our visiting fans. So they will enter those and get the allotment of tickets that they are able to get. Especially with our first big event, the big football game on Friday night, everybody and their mother wants a ticket to that game. And please understand that we unfortunately cannot do favors on the side. I think Rhett and I have both gotten calls. I'm sure actually every administrator on this call has gotten calls about getting tickets. Folks, we are strapped. We are down to the ticket on events like this. Now, the great news is that for a lot of our other ticketed events, we've had enough contests in at this point. I mean, I think we're up to 6 contests on campus, ticketed contests, where we kind of know the flow of things. If we can get the JV out, bring the varsity in, et cetera, and people generally follow those rules, and they have for the most part, and we thank them for that, then we're kind of fine tuning this as we go. And so as always, this may change. And as always, you will receive an email about it with new instructions. You check the weekly email, the Rams in Action, you'll see that information updated constantly. Mr. Castator, if you could go to the athletics page under departments. Okay, so if you click on that, then there should be the fall spectator guidelines. If you click on that, please, Mr. Castator, under the news. Okay, so lots of clicks there. So this is a working document. Okay, so this is the document that we will continue to update as we go. And if anything changes, I'll put in all caps, highlighted yellow, if it shows up, that it was revised on a certain date. So as we get more information, as the state fine tunes some of our processes, we will change ours as well. So please know that we will always keep you as informed as possible. And our goal, once again, said this last meeting, number one goal is to have a fall season, have a winter season, have a spring season for our student athletes and our students involved in so many activities. Number two goal is to get their loved ones in the gate to see them perform. And the number three goal, obviously, is to have fun while doing it. So please understand that we're doing this out of love, and we're doing it to try to keep things going. In terms of passes, at certain events, we will accept senior citizen passes. We will also accept staff passes. Those will not be accepted at this point at varsity football contests. But all other contests, all other ticketed contests, you can present your staff ID or your senior citizen card at the gate for free admission. Rainouts, we are currently working through how that happens. It happened last night with girls soccer. We're still trying to figure out what exactly our move is on that. So we'll update you in the future as we go. For all of our contests, all of our ticketed contests, please understand that there will not be any re-entry this year. So you can't exit the stadium and then expect to get back in. It's just not going to happen with all the stuff that we're trying to manage. Not this year. Tailgating. So this is obviously going to be pertinent for Friday night. We are allowing tailgating on campus, okay, but it has to follow the rules of the state. So gatherings have to be limited to 10 or fewer. Obviously, no alcohol, no disruptive behavior, no criminal behavior, etc. It must stop once the game starts. Okay, so we will have Ross Police on campus patrolling to make sure that we are complying with the letter of the law there. At this point, turn it back over to Jason for protocols.
All right. And the only thing I wanted to add, because I just got an email, was that when you go on an away contest, the protocols might be slightly different on what they're doing. So we added a contest today that's for next week for junior high. Their protocols were a little bit different. So we just ask that you respect whatever they're asking you to do. Most of the protocols are pretty much the same because everyone's following ODH and DeWine. As far as those protocols, here's what we're asking. To continue to have people here, just distance yourself. When you come to the events, see the stickers, distance yourself. Per the order, you need to have a mask on. That is inside and out. So if you come into our gyms or into our stadium, you're supposed to have a mask on while seated, while in line for the concession, while getting your tickets, all of that. And again, everyone has done a really good job so far. We appreciate your cooperation. We want people to come to the games. We understand that sitting outside in a mask can get a little hot. Trust me, we wear it the entire time. So I get it. But for us to be able to, you see Mr. Richards has his on now. For us to be able to continue to have sports and watch sports, we just need to follow what we need to follow. And if that means wearing a mask and separating a little bit and having smaller crowds, we're all for it as long as we can continue to have events. Jake, you want to go over some of the streaming?
Yeah, real quick, and we'll try to stay in the time frame here. Streaming capacity. This is something that we are currently working through. It is a grand experiment for us in terms of the necessary technology and the necessary manpower to run those streaming capabilities. The great news is that we will have these awesome, very advanced cameras installed at our press box and in our high school gym as of tomorrow. Okay, I can't promise that they're going to be up and running by this weekend, but that will then be a subscription streaming service that will stream every event at the stadium and in the high school gym. That's through NFHS Network. We will send out more details about how to get a subscription to NFHS Network as we have them. But we're really excited about that opportunity. For this Friday, chatterboxsports.com will be streaming the game. And in addition, I believe Butler County Sports Report will be streaming the game as well.
All right, I think that takes us to busing. Just real quick, we have the same protocols that we have when you get on the bus to come to school. We got to wear a mask. We have seating charts. Gave them to the coaches today so they could start to work through those. We are encouraging, if you would like to take your athlete to an event or bring them home, helps out a little bit with spacing on the buses. They have to wear a mask on the bus, so it kind of helps out with that. Just fill out the contest travel release form. I sent that out today to every fall athlete family. Fill it out, and then you can take them home.
And the last thing we'll mention is, I know if you drove by the campus on Monday or this past Saturday or any number of days in the future, you may see what looks like a heck of a lot of people not socially distanced, not following protocol. And I can assure you that that is entirely not the case. We have a lot of events happening simultaneously, and we've got a lot of great people, including our coaching staffs and those folks in charge of some of our youth organizations that are working their tails off to follow our protocol. We can't promise that it's going to be 100% at all times, but what I can promise you is that if it's not 100%, we will be addressing it and improving moving forward, because we recognize that we've got to get this right to allow our kids an opportunity to participate in the activities that they love. And so everybody watching out there, the thousands of people who are watching this broadcast and the thousands that will tune in when it's archived, please understand that the best thing you can do is wear a mask, socially distance at all times from anybody not in your immediate family, and sanitize your hands frequently. Thank you very much. We appreciate you guys, and go Rams.
All right, thank you, Dr. Richards, for those instructions. Again, so this concludes our YouTube Live for this evening. We appreciate everyone joining in. I know that I think we're up close to 100, if not more, live viewers for this session. And obviously, as we mentioned at the beginning, it will be archived on the district YouTube site and accessible moving forward. So if you know anyone that may need this information that wasn't able to join us tonight, it will be accessible on the district YouTube channel. So we have one more of these scheduled for next Wednesday evening. We're back on at 6 o'clock, and that will just be a general information session to cover any last minute questions. Again, with the format, we've had a lot of questions submitted. We're not doing an individual line by line question and answer on that. Rather, we've taken the stance we're going to try to lump them together into general categories. And I think we've done a pretty good job of addressing most of the things that have been submitted. But this will kind of be, next Wednesday will be kind of a catch-all, one less chance to get questions answered, and a few last minute reminders before we welcome students back on Tuesday, September the 8th. So again, thanks for joining us tonight, and we will see everyone next Wednesday.